Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's Morning Coffee or Tea with AmericanScouser.com. Morning Coffee. I got Daffy going this morning, and with us, our Clearwater buddy, Trevor's with us as always. Trevor, what's happening?
Not too much. Got a Diet Coke this morning. Been up
Diet
since
Coke
4.
this morning. Well, you've been up since what, like 5 your time?
Yeah, 4. You gotta get the pregame in.
Oh, you can't miss what Alexi Lellis has to say about the game. Yeah, and then also with us, as always, every Wednesday is Rami. Rami, what's up, man?
What's up? Happy to be here. Just trying to stay up for these games as much as possible. So,
did you get up early this morning to watch the Algeria game or Morocco?
It was 3 a.m. my time, so I tried watching and I ended up falling asleep, even though it wasn't as terrible of a game as it seemed. But yeah, so I was trying to watch this Germany game instead. So,
Alan is with us as always. Good morning, Alan. Yeah, you guys are a lot more dedicated than I am, man. There's no way. I mean, it would have to be maybe in the next round and stuff, but I think by then we don't have those early games. It's just when these like 4-game days are in. So I'll be fine by then. But yeah, the group stages, and I don't know, like honestly, like some of the group stage games have been a lot better than normal, especially the first games in the group stages are always cagey because nobody wants to lose and be out early. But it's, you know, there are a couple of games where I felt like it was a lot more open than only. Daz is with us this morning. Yes, I just saw that myself, Daz, that David Johnson, as we call him, and Liverpool fans. And I know he has been in the U.S. quite a few times, like with like Liverpool supporter clubs and stuff like that, has passed away. I saw that like earlier this morning, before my day, in terms of like, you know, following the club and like watching him play and stuff like that. But I've seen a lot of him, like I say, just mainly because of all the events he attended and stuff like that. I've seen like many interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, that's like definitely sad news indeed. First thing to see this morning. A lot of headlines to get to that morning. That was one of them that I wanted to like touch on first, because that's like the first thing I saw, because I saw it on my feed, a lot of different people posting on Facebook, even before I got to the news page. So but then I got to the news page, Trevor, and I was happy to see there's even more headlines. But I knew already when I saw the headlines yesterday, I'm like, we got to get Trevor's take on Cristiano Ronaldo's latest news. So now he has been mutually agreed to be released from United. I know you're happy because now this opens a whole new chapter of where will Ronaldo go? So where will Ronaldo go?
As far away as humanly possible, hopefully. There's so many avenues that he could go at this point, because now there's not that looming specter of who wants to take that contract with it being terminated. And I'm assuming there's some sort of buyout in play, because they wouldn't just go. Yeah, I don't think he'd walk away from that amount of money, even with the riches that he has in his life. Where he goes now, a lot of people think Chelsea, just because it's there. It's a guy that
it's there
likes to collect people of his ilk and try to make it a marketing endeavor rather than a football team per se. But I don't know. And as I've said a million times with some of these Ronaldo stories, like I just don't care. It's a guy he's just burned so many people out of him. And I'd like to put myself at the top of that list, because it's just, for all of the flowers you want to give the man for his career, how he's handled himself these past couple of years, even when he was playing well and even when he was getting in the team, is just something where how are you at this stage of your life and you're still this bitter? Like, you've won almost everything outside of like the World Cup. You've got every single individual achievement that you could possibly have, and you're still a bitter old fuck. Why?
Yes, that's the odd part, right? Like, he does sound like a bitter old fuck. But I like messing with it. Dad says, I'm with Trevor, who cares? Oh, Trevor follows Ronaldo news closely. I think he has like a Google alert. Anytime something comes up with Ronaldo, it pops up on Trevor's feed. Rami, does it show up on your feed as well? Where do you think he ends up?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Trevor on this one. I don't really, I don't really care. But I mean, at this point, I don't really care where he goes. Whether it's the Saudis want to pay him a ton of money to go play in like essentially celebrity games every day, or he signs with the MLS, or I mean, at this point, I feel like the story's been kind of played out. Um, I could see him. I could see him maybe Madrid. There's rumors there. I kind of just want to see how many teams he can sabotage at once. That's kind of my like. Can he do the rounds? Maybe he'll go to City next and give us a chance at the title, and and then Arsenal, and just make the rounds and sabotage a bunch of teams. So
I mean, that's why I think the Chelsea thing is interesting, because they're already in the kind of like in the crapper. I don't know like how he fits there, which would make it an even better like experiment. But I would like to see a scenario. I would like to see a scenario where he like goes to Chelsea and scores against United, and just have like United fans head just explode. But I don't know if that's going to happen, to be honest with you. I don't even know if, I mean, the whole contract thing has changed. I think that's a big plus, like you're saying, Trevor. Like now we don't have to. I say, if I were him at least, which I'll call him later and tell him what I think. But, he should probably go back to Portugal or just come over here to Miami or Orlando or something like that. But I don't think he's that kind of guy. Like he would beat the shit out of the rest of the team, because if they don't pass and stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see. Speaking of City, though, Pep has signed a freaking extension to 2025. And normally, like, who cares kind of a deal. But that, I mean, I know Pep gets a lot of shit, Rami, for, always having the money and always having a good squad and stuff like that. But at the same time, there are a lot of managers who have access to a lot of money and who have access to like world stars nonstop, but don't do much with them, don't go anywhere with them. So yeah, I was not thrilled to find out that he extended. I was hoping he would ride off into the sunset, find some other rich team or something like that. But looks like he's sticking around. What do you make of it?
Right. I was personally hoping he'd go coach like a national team or something, just kind of get a club football. And you do bring up a good point. I do think people try to discredit Guardiola because of how much money he spent, but I think tactically he's one of the best managers of all time. I mean, he comes from Johan Cruyff's school of coaching, I guess you could call it. It's kind of like that Phil Jackson argument where it's like, oh, did he win his 11 rings, or did he coach three of the best players of all time? You know what I mean? It's kind of like that argument where you can discredit coaches' impact, but at the same time, I think it's easier said than done to get those collection of players and make them buy in and do something special with it. Now, my hope is that, he doesn't win the Champions League by the time his contract ends, and he just leaves City just very bitter and puts a sour taste on his time. But I believe Klopp's contract ends in 2026, so at least we'll get a year of Klopp without having to compete against Pep and his endless reserves.
And that's the thing. I almost feel like if it was somebody else in charge of City, they would not be the threats they have been, I would say, the last few years. Do you agree, Trevor, or you think you can put Sean Douche over there and they would still be top of the league competing with Liverpool the last 4 or 5 seasons?
No, I'm with Rami on the thing. You always have to manage and massage egos if you're the manager of a very high-level club. And, yeah, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can put a system together and plug in world-class players at every position and make them buy in. It is a talent. And, yeah, it helps when you can kind of like the Yankees used to, where every time you'd make a mistake, you could just buy the next best player and fix the mistake. It's one of those things where that's good. You can mess up every once in a while and kind of just gloss over it, but it does take a lot to do all that and to get players that want to look out for themselves on a lot of occasions, kind of get into that team concept. And I'm with you though. I'm not happy to see him stay.
I mean, he's one of those guys that maybe I might not, pick him for a single game, and say I want him to coach this final or something like that. Because I think some of the times, he overthinks and tinkers with things that were already working. But over a course of time for a team, I think he's like a great candidate. And like you're saying, it's a lot. I mean, spending a lot of money means there's some people on that bench who are getting a lot of money to sit. And that takes talent to be able to kind of like do the rotation and stuff like that. And he's definitely a lot better at rotating those people in and out. So you got to give him credit where it's due, I guess. Well, let's stick with Manchester, I guess. But Glazers say they are open to selling United. So Trevor, is this like, wait, what's going on? FSG is selling like a good, solid bidder is going to be off the table, or they were like, we're selling too, damn it, we've been trying to sell all this time, kind of a thing, and now announcing it.
It was such a muddled message, really, the way they were kind of rolling out their intent to sell. It was similarly to FSG's message, where it's, well, we're looking for bidders, but we'd sell if we could. Hey, we want some investment, but you guys want it for $6 billion? You want this? And there was just that roller coaster of emotions in like 2 paragraphs, and you're just going, can you just flat out say you're either going to sell it, or you're looking for investments, or you want to split it with somebody? There's so much just business jargon in some of these guys' heads. They forget that there's so much in sports that is surrounding it that's more than just the business. And you kind of letting a lot of your staff and your players out to dry and your fan base out to dry just by being unnecessarily vague and kind of just shifty and backdoor shitty about it. You could just come out and be even like 1% transparent, and people would give these ownership groups so much more respect. But it's just not in their nature. They can't help themselves but be underhanded and just kind of slimy about it. And you're
fair though, it is the Glazers. Like, could they be hated anymore?
and that's the thing. It's they don't know any different. They
I almost feel like at this point Glazers are like, they don't even give a damn. Like,
asking for that transparency for them is like asking a fucking grizzly bear to fly a plane. I could ask it. I'm not going to get it, but here we are.
How about you, Rami? I mean, is this, you think they see all these bids out there, or potential bids? They might be reading the papers and seeing all these rumors. I'm sure there's a lot of like talk going on in the actual money rounds where we're not anywhere near. So they see all these potential bidders and they're like, hey, I mean, if you guys owe this money, we're selling too.
Right. And that was my first thought when I saw that they were selling, is that maybe they saw the type of bids that Liverpool are getting, and they're like, oh, it like turned their heads, kind of like what happened with Chelsea and us, like how we saw what Chelsea went for, and we're like, oh, like that's the type of money teams are going for. I also think the uncertain economic future of the world kind of leads these billionaires to, I guess, avoid risk. And I think owning a soccer team or football team in this time of the, like, in this economy is kind of a big risk. I'm also curious. I don't feel like they'd be taking bidders from us. I get the sense that it'd be 2 different types of people who would be trying to buy a Liverpool and United. I think if you're trying to make money, then I think Liverpool would be the club for you. But if you're looking for more of like a vanity project, then I think you'd go with United.
Yeah, I'm torn on that. I mean, we're kind of like discussing that on the Discord channel too. It's, in some cases, it's a club where you can kind of buy. You do have to put a lot of money in compared to Liverpool. Not like in terms of the squad, but in terms of like infrastructure, you know, like facilities, the stadium and stuff like that. But at the same time, being able to do those, I think you can increase the value more too. So there's more room for growth. But I think you're right. I mean, these poor billionaires, like, what are they going to do in this economy? So yeah, it's kind of like well, that's how we became billionaires, people. So Alan says FIFA sent 6 officials to England team headquarters on day of the Iran match and threatened drastic sanctions. The players wore the One Love armband. Yeah, I mean, it's good old FIFA. If you want to really get even more disgusted in FIFA than you normally are, yeah, I definitely would recommend watching that documentary on Netflix. Yeah, and then take a shower afterwards because it is just brutal. But having said that, Alex says Germany nailed the protest, unlike England to back down. I can understand England backing down because what they were threatened with, I think, is different. You know, if you missed it, Germany, who's taking on Japan as we speak, actually, the second half should have been gone by now. is, like took the photo with covering their mouths and like in protest of, like what happened to some of these other teams, including themselves not being able to wear the armband. See, I kind of like that, Trevor, because this is not like, oh, nobody told us we couldn't cover our mouths. So, you take, whereas like, the other one, they're like, hey, you can't wear the armband. You're going to get a yellow card. Who wants to get a yellow card? And obviously, if it's a yellow card offense, can you get a second yellow card if you continue wearing it? I don't even know how that crap works. But either way, this is where they're saying don't do it. And if you still do it, obviously there's going to be consequences because then anybody can do anything. But like the German protest, are you shocked that we don't see kind of like more of these? Or like not surprised at all because this is how people roll?
Not, and this just shows that there's creative ways to work around this one line in the sand that they were drawing. Wearing the rainbow boots, doing the mouth covering, the minister of the German football sitting next to Infantino with the One Love armband on as he sits there and tries to like slowly weasel himself out of the frame so he's not in the picture. And there's ways that you can get your message across, and you can be inclusionary, and you can really just make yourself the force for good change that you want to be without doing this one thing. And because they're like, okay, nobody's going to do anything. We're going to yellow card them. And if they get 2 yellow cards, they're going to miss a crucial game. Do something now. Okay. They did something. They were able to kind of work around it. And what is it? They're going to just go there and ban like everything. Everybody has to go play in just plain boots. They're going to have to make 1,000 regulations on the fly to kind of take out all these creative options that these teams have at their disposal, when they thought they really nipped it in the bud when they're like, no armbands for you, no rainbow shirts. Okay.
Problem solved.
Okay. There's plenty of other ways we can go about this, brother. We can do this. We can do this dance.
And yeah, it's almost like they felt like they're like, okay, the armband thing is gone. I mean, what else can they possibly do? And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. I'm actually more amazed that there's not a lot more talking that players can do, because they can't really monitor that as much or like ban it. That says, I think a lot of teams folded to pressure and should have at least stuck to their morals the first match at least. See, I understand, and I am kind of like torn on this. I understand like the players, it's a lot. The event itself is a lot bigger for the players. I mean, you see some of these players like literally crying during the national anthem as it plays and stuff like that. This is like a huge moment for them, and maybe it is their only focus and stuff like that. But at the same time, if anything is going to happen, it should be coming at this stage from the players, because FIFA obviously has sold out, and the federations have clearly sold out as well. So you can't expect much from them. The only people who can make a difference by talking out and speaking out and stuff like that and doing things like this are probably the players themselves, and you really do not get a lot of it. Are you shocked that you don't get more, I guess, Rami, or do you see it like getting more and more as we go? I almost feel like kind of like what Dads is saying. They're like, we did that the first match. That's over. Now let's get back to business. Or do you think it's going to keep getting more and more and more as we go with the tournament?
I think it was a missed opportunity for a lot of teams to, just come out, even if it, like you said, was their first game, and wear a T-shirt or just defy the rules and wear the One Love armband anyways. Like there's a quote that's like, if you have to ask for permission to protest, then you're not really protesting. And that's kind of what I felt when I heard that FIFA didn't approve of the protest. So it's like, that's kind of the point.
That's true.
That's kind of what frustrates me. It's like, are we really dedicated to, taking a stand on things, or are we just kind of saying things so for PR and all these other things? So that's like, I think players today are probably more socially active than ever in terms of like social justice issues and all these things. So it's just kind of disappointing to see them kind of like fold when it comes to this, because it's like, oh, well, I don't want to miss the third game in the group stage for my country, but at the same time, I want to take a stand on this thing. It's like sometimes you might have to choose. And so it's kind of disappointing to see them just kind of fold, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like you're saying, it's it does not make sense to get an approval to it. And Sparky says Germany have asked the Court of Arbitration for Sport to see if the armband rule is legal. And I don't know, they're probably, you know, they're going to come back and be like, yeah, it is FIFA's thing, part of the uniform. What are you going to do? And, you know, I feel like that's going to keep going by. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of opportunities to talk. Like you're saying, there's a lot of social media that these guys are involved in. So there's definitely a lot of ways they can do it. And I think it has to come from, I was actually watching John Oliver's show a couple of days ago, and he was talking about, you know, like this dude from Nepal who was talking about, like, you know, like building the stadium, and said, you know, hopefully Messi would probably do that. I mean, Messi is more worried about Saudi Arabia getting his butt kicked. But still, like, it has to be those higher profile guys going around saying something. If you're Ronaldo, if you want to deflect from all these stupid questions about United and where you're going to go and stuff like that, just come out and say, hey, there's like bigger issues to talk about, and bring it out. But I feel like too much sponsored money or whatever it is that these guys also have sold out. So it's kind of hard to just blame FIFA when you see the players slightly have sold out to the whole ordeal too. It's just, I guess it's more like disappointing than anything else that they don't get involved in like sharing like the message and stuff like that, and we're just going along with it. But it's nothing new. Sadly, it's something that has happened before in World Cups, on top of everything, or other tournaments. But speaking of World Cup, let's try to get back to the stuff on the field. While we were on air yesterday, Denmark and Tunisia were in a bore fest of a game. I mean, even the highlights, you could, I wasn't able to even watch at all, but even the highlights were like so. We talked about the Saudi Arabia game in the morning. Trevor, Mexico, Poland. We talked about how important that game was going to be. I have to say, I was shocked as how aggressive Mexico looked, and at the same time, how timid Poland looked.
Yeah, and when we're doing our previews, I had mentioned that Mexico is a team where if they need to turn it on, they will. It's just whether or not they have the goal scorers to make that aggression work. Whereas Poland has one in Lewandowski, and they were, yeah, like you said, they were very, very timid. And when he missed that penalty, it was almost like, okay, we're going 0-0. We're not even going to bother for the rest of this game. Denmark and Tunisia, vastly different 0-0. That one, you could have just had the two teams just stay in the dressing room and go, you guys just want 0-0? All right, cool. We're just going to get the next game out here. And you guys
good luck against Australia.
Yeah. We'll give everybody 90 minutes played for the fantasy players, and then we'll just go. We'll go get something to eat. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, didn't get a chance to see that one, but just looking at the highlights or the lack of highlights, I was like, whereas I thought Mexico-Poland was kind of like a good game. And then Australia tries to do their best Saudi Arabia impression, Rami, but then France comes back and says, nah, I don't think so. And it was just a moment, like a matter of time, really, before they scored. And probably could have scored a lot more, too. France, just with Mbappe and like the movement they have in Dembele on one side, Mbappe on the other, they just look good overall. Or is it because it's Australia's defending?
Yeah, it was hard to differentiate between the two for me. I mean, I was impressed by France. I was, I guess, underestimating them going into the tournament with the amount of injuries that they've had, losing Benzema and Nkunku a couple of days before it starts and all of that, and just their injuries in midfield as well. So I was kind of underestimating France, but I was impressed with their performance. And like you said, I don't know if it was just Australia just not being the level of competition, and maybe once they play Denmark on, I believe, Saturday, then it'll be a bit more harder. But I was impressed. I have them going out early in my bracket, and I'm thinking about, I might regret that decision. But I was impressed with the way they played, and they look similar to the same team that won it 4 years ago, and they still look hungry and have that drive. So that's probably what impressed me the most.
Sparky Parker says Poland and Mexico both out now after Saudi win. I am not so sure on that, because here's the thing, like these opening games can always take like a weird twist. We've seen some like odd upsets, and sometimes that gets to the team that does the upset, where they just like crumble afterwards because they're still riding that high. They can't even freaking believe it themselves, kind of a deal. And then you've seen the other team that lost points or took the defeats or took the draw unexpectedly, like one of the favorites, kind of like bounce back and say, this is what we have to fix and stuff like that, kind of bring them together. So I think it's a little early. It does make the game against Argentina a lot more exciting, I think, for both Poland and Mexico. Really thought the third game Argentina played, they would have been able to kind of like take a bit easier, having won the first two. But I had freaking Argentina and France going all the way initially, so God knows what's going to happen there now. But let's go back to the games. So this morning, crack of dawn, Trevor's up with his like half jersey, half of it is Morocco, the other one is Croatia. So tell us about the game since you were up and about.
Yeah, I think this falls more into the Mexico-Poland pot of 0-0s rather than the Denmark and Tunisia one. This was, I think Morocco really had their moments where they gave it a go, and Croatia just showed that they, for all of their talent in the midfield, without having an out-and-out striker target man, like Kramaric just ain't him, that they can keep the ball for as long as they can and do so many great things in terms of just weaving through Morocco. And at the end, if there's nobody there to put the ball in the net, that I think that their three best chances came from distance shots. The Moroccan goalkeeper actually had a couple good saves. The Croatian goalkeeper had a couple good point blank saves. There was never a time where I felt either team was trying to just play out the string and go for 0-0. They kind of stayed even into like probably until like the last eight or 9 minutes, with the stoppage time included. They kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit, but we're still not like passing the ball around the back and just hoping to run the clock out. So it was a good game. I enjoyed myself.
Rami, you were up, but not really. How much did you were you able to watch the game at the end? So it's 3 a.m. for you, right?
Yeah.
So after like a long night of partying, you're like, why don't I watch some Morocco or Croatia? Okay.
Yeah, I'm already up. Might as well.
Perfect hangover cure.
Yeah.
Chase it down with some Morocco Croatia game. And so you said you did not make the end of it, but Germany Japan is 1-0 right now, 67th minutes. See, Sparky says, by the way, that France and England look good because poor level of opposition, and that's the thing. It's so hard to tell right now, and I think that's what the thing with the first games is, because we don't know if that was really the case. Like, you don't know if Australia is gonna go now and do really well against somebody else, or the same thing with like Iran and stuff, because we only saw in one game, so I don't know if it's like taking a glimpse of it. We watched some teams where, like, I felt like Iran showed that, man, they can actually have like an attacking force when they settle into a game. Whereas, you watch the Qatar-Ecuador game and you were like, how are these guys going to ever score? Like, they just have nothing going. So I think, it's kind of hard to judge. I know what Sparky is saying. It did look like, as you watch the game, you couldn't tell if somebody was like really good or somebody was really bad. And it could be somewhere in the middle too. Obviously, like, these are like some of the better teams like France and England and stuff. But you see what France did. I think that speaks volumes in terms of, conceding first, then coming back and keep going at it and kind of like blowing them out, as opposed to how Argentina kind of like dealt with it. I was able to watch the game afterwards. It was like on as Lifetime. I was like running, trying to work this double chin off, and it was like, you look at how they play, and it's almost like sometimes it's forced into Messi a bit too much, and it's probably easier. That was one thing I noticed yesterday. They were not trying to force it to Mbappe when it was France. They were coming from the Mbappe's side, and they were like kind of moving the ball around and looked like more of a fluid team, whereas Messi is like Steve Nash, or like a point guard over there. Like, here you go, Messi. Now let's make something happen, is how they kept playing. And, that's a bit easier to defend, even if it is Messi. After a while, it gets a bit easier to defend. We have Spain, Costa Rica later on today, actually shortly this morning, and then Belgium, Canada. So we're going to be off air for Thanksgiving festivities on Thursday and Friday. We'll be back Monday morning. out of these games over here coming up, Trevor, what is one game that you're looking forward to, apart from your boys playing Friday?
Yeah, and I'll bang this drum until they're on a plane home. Brazil Serbia is going to be a game to watch.
Oh, that's right, the Serbia love.
It's the late game tomorrow. Take your lunch break then.
Yeah, Trevor is really bullish on Serbia. Has been. He's made him the favorite.
They get blown out 5-0. I'm just sitting there looking like a dipshit.
How about you, Rami? Anything you're looking forward to? I mean, personally, I really want to see the. And I don't think I'm going to be up for it, but I don't know. My body clock with the show as automatically like wakes me up now too. So I want to see like Nunez go against South Korea. I kind of want to see how he does, because I think it's kind of like an important World Cup for him. Is there a game that you're like specifically kind of like circled and be like, I got to watch this?
Yeah, besides Uruguay, that was a good one that you mentioned. I'm interested to see how Nunez does. They've kind of become my de facto team this World Cup, but I think the one that really caught my eye was Argentina Mexico, because I think if Argentina loses that game, they're eliminated, and Mexico basically needs a win now after tying yesterday. So that one's gonna be really interesting. Both teams are really gonna go after it, and then I think the other one was Denmark France. I think that's gonna be a good game. Just kind of both teams are playing for first place. So, and we will see if France was for real or was it just Australia. So I think that's gonna be a good one too.
I'll tell you what, that Saturday is solid. Not waking up. I mean, you guys will probably be up for the fucking Tunisia Australia game. I'm not going to be taking part in that. But Poland Saudi Arabia is like a really good game now. Maybe it was not 4 or 5 days ago. But France, Denmark, like you said, Argentina, Mexico, those are some games to keep an eye on Saturday. It's because that's going to be very interesting too. Those two groups ended up being interesting just by the first results alone. Well, any Thanksgiving plans for you, Trevor, aside from getting up 4 a.m, watching World Cup?
Yeah, we'll see that the family that stays at the casa over the weekend, how they handle that. The TV going on at 4:30 probably won't be met with the nicest of comments, but
they'll get the hang of it. They just give him a couple of those cans from the bag. You're like, here, good morning.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's gonna be good.
How about you, Rami? Like partying late again so you can catch the 3 a.m. game, or what are we doing?
Yeah, totally. Just hitting the nightclubs until the World Cup games start.
The nightclubs of Utah are famous, so
exactly very famous.
So I can see
because nothing gets people's motor running like Switzerland, Cameroon at 3 a.m.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are some. It's almost like it's really shady that how they pick these games too, right? Like Japan, Costa Rica, they're like, no, they have to be really hardcore to get up and watch for that. So like they put some games that are like most people would be either it looked like too lopsided, like the Argentina game, or there are games that they're like, nobody's gonna probably want that. Let's put that over there. It's almost like they made it. Let's put this on prime time, and we'll put the other one like first thing in the morning and see who watches that. But yeah, a lot of good games.
USA plays it at 2 every time.
And I mean, that is a good game to watch. There's like a lot going on. These second games usually are actually the best ones, because sadly, when you come to the third game, some teams are already guaranteed. Some teams, all they need is a draw, so they play accordingly. So they're not like the best games. But like I said, the first games are usually pretty cagey. The last games can go either way, depends on where everybody's at. But these second games are usually like the best ones in the group stage. So it should be some fun watching these games over the weekend. I hope everybody listening, sharing, thank you as always. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend. I would say don't eat too much, but you guys are going to freaking do it anyway, so why even waste time? Have a great Thanksgiving, though, and we'll see you guys bright and early Monday morning. Take care.